Gwen, that's not okay. You can't just say he's Frozone because he's black. First of all, he's not even black. He's like a demon or some other Scientists don't even know what that is. So dudes, welcome back to the Gwen gaming experience. Infernus won a community poll in which I asked you all which hero how-to you wanted to see first. This makes sense to me. Infernus is easy to pick up and play, and he has a cool character design. He's also a good representation of Deadlock's design philosophy in that he possesses great mechanical depth with complexity that's as far as you would like to go. Infernus' gimmick is obviously fire and damage over time effects, but what makes him interesting is that he's not a one-trick pony. Infernus is a good damage dealer, but he has strategic use cases. Aside from a passive that applies damage over time effects with bullets, Infernus has a great movement ability that can be used as an escape tool, and even as a way to set up fights. His ult gives him crowd control with a big radius stun, and that obviously helps initiate team fights, but it can also be used to screw with the enemy's timing for mid-boss. Infernus is more than a basic AD carry, if you will. He's a multifaceted damage dealer, and his calling card is big, sustained team fighting potential. By the end of this video, you'll understand two different playstyles for Infernus you can try for yourself. The first being the more obvious gunfighting build, and the other being a more aggressive and in-your-face option that revolves around his flame dash, which is how I like to play him. I am by no means an experienced MOBA player, but these tips did help my Infernus play. Like I said already, Infernus' main thing is damage over time, spoiler alert. When the game starts, you'll want to buy your third ability, Afterburn, first. We don't necessarily need to prioritize it throughout the rest of the game depending on what you're doing, and we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But it bears repeating, you want to buy this ability first, because this is what's going to give you initial pressure ability in the lane. Afterburn works like this. You shoot a guy enough, and then after a certain threshold of damage, within a certain amount of time, you apply a damage over time effect to your opponent that lasts a few seconds. Infernus' finger gun has pretty quick fall-off distance, which makes applying that effect more difficult the further you are from what you're shooting at. Don't forget that this fire damage is spirit damage, so Infernus is interesting in the sense that he's kind of like a magic gunfighter. So it checks out that the prevailing thread across every Infernus build you'll find is they'll encourage you to buy Ammo Scavenger as fast as possible, if not right away. And the reason for this is because Infernus chews through his tiny base magazine pretty quickly, but more importantly, he gets stacking spirit power with Secures, which, newsflash, we just got done talking about how his fire damage scales with spirit. So after Ammo Scavenger, your build can diverge in different directions. After this, I'd usually recommend a bullet item like Rapid Rounds, which will help you proc Afterburn more quickly, and when you get another ability level, you'll want to purchase his first ability, Catalyst, which also has a relatively short range of 20 meters, and you get the idea. Infernus is to Call of Duty what submachine guns are. Most of his damage is done up close. Catalyst is an initiation ability that you'll want to apply to just about every gunfight if you can help it. Opponents struck by this ability will have your damage towards them amplified, and it also slows them down. So in gunfights, try to prioritize hitting your opponent with this first. Catalyst level 2 gives you lifesteal, and Catalyst level 3 diminishes the health regen of struck opponents by 33%. Slowed down enemies will obviously have a hard time dealing with your second ability, Flame Dash, especially since being caught in the wake of it will reduce their basic attack fire rate. It will also, spoiler alert, do fire damage. Damage over time as long as the enemy is standing in the fire. Infernus' Flame Dash is the fulcrum for the rest of his playstyle, so I'm going to spend some time talking about it. It gives him the ability to punish bad positioning seemingly out of complete nowhere, and good Infernus players will rip you to pieces before you realize your mistake, closing the distance at lightning speed and DPSing you down. At the early stage of lane, you can do one of two things. You can either follow the Flame Dash build or the Afterburn build, prioritizing one ability's levels over the other. Effectively playing lane with Infernus means you have to be mindful of your small magazine and be strategic with the application of Afterburn. In many cases, you can actually save ammo by applying Afterburn to troopers, waiting for the damage to roll in, then quickly following up with a Soul Secure. Something else I forgot to mention is that Afterburn can be refreshed with additional damage from your abilities or your bullets. In addition, the Afterburn status effect will stay on an opponent for a pretty significant amount of time. At a certain point, it will run out, but You can pepper a couple of shots on a target, wait for another opportunity to get more, and you can apply the status effect that way rather than just having to get the whole mag dump in one go. Another thing I don't see new Infernus players do enough of in the early game is use the Flame Dash as a strategic option. Oftentimes, they'll only pop at the moment things get too scary to just run back to their Guardian, which is certainly better than dying, but don't be afraid to use Flame Dash to clear waves. After all, you can run deep into the lane for a brief period before coming back to a safe position. Just be sure to secure the souls that come up soon afterward. Another good item to buy in the early game is Infuser, because again, fire damage equals spirit damage. You get a powerful sustain item while in the midst of doing damage. What's not to like? I wouldn't rush it though. Feel free to throw in a bullet item like Rapid Rounds or Enduring Spirit first, to give you a base level of survivability in the lane, maybe even a healing right. Then, finish up your early game 500 souls items with Infuser, because the bulk of its usefulness is going to be scaling into the mid or late game. As the lane phase wraps up, you'll want to get Enduring Speed too. This is going to ensure you get the most out of your Flame Dash, which will help you stay alive longer and allow you to get that fire all over the place more efficiently, which does more fire damage, which we like a lot. But by now, the foundation of your build should be clear. You're either going to be going, like we said, in the Flame Dash or the Afterburn route. Regardless of which path you choose, you're going to be picking up Toxic Bullets. Toxic Bullets is going to be your first really substantial power spike. Toxic Bullets works a lot like Afterburn. You shoot somebody enough and you'll apply a bleed effect, and they'll lose a percentage of their max health over time. It also applies a healing reduction. Now, imagine you're combining this with Afterburn that's applying fire damage. Imagine you've hit your opponent with Catalyst, which applies lifesteal at level 2. Never sell Toxic Bullets. It is good at every stage of the match. Alright, we got our big damage output, and now we can stay alive longer, so what's next? Well, at this point, we're going to be going back and forth, right? We're going to be in between lanes, farming camps, helping with team fights. Remember, we can use Flame Dash to help clear camps quickly. But the thing is, you shouldn't just be turbo farming and never getting involved in the team fights. That's a big mistake. Because Infernus is a great team fighter. Flame Dash has so much damage potential over a wide area, and that's obviously useful in team fights. Now, when the opportunity presents itself to farm, don't be afraid to go after the bigger camps. You're one of the more efficient farmers in the game. I know I sound like I just contradicted myself, but it really is just on a case-by-case basis. Welcome to MOBAs. Flame Dash is such a good get-out-of-jail-free card for Infernus. It's honestly almost unfair. This is a late game example, but look how much damage I do to this haze while I'm running away. I'm not even shooting back, and I'm already taking out half of her health pool. He can take risks in enemy territory that other heroes can't, and if your team needs help, he can be there in a jiffy. If the enemy's doing mid-boss, he can get there pretty quickly and crash the party with his ultimate concussive combustion, which I realize now I neglected in the script. It's a pretty simple ability with a big and obvious telegraph. Basically, Infernus winds himself up into a bomb, and followed up by a tick-tick-boom, Infernus will do a lot of damage in a big radius around him that acts like a stun as well. You get more stun time, plus a bigger radius at level 2, and some lifesteal at level 3. Here, the big picture difference between the Flame Dash and the Afterburn build is going to be made evident, and that's whether or not you're going to rush Ricochet. Ricochet is another massive power spike for Infernus, and this is where he really gets the bulk of his team fighting potential in the late game, because he can apply his Afterburn to entire groups. It's extremely powerful. Remember, we've been building items that can sustain him from his fire damage, so every time you build something that gives you more fire damage, you just get better sustain. This is where Infernus really becomes Infernus. The longer the team fight blob goes on, the more damage he does. Eventually, he will just burn down the entire team fight if he is alive and getting out damage. So you're probably gonna get target prioed. Just be mindful of that positioning-wise, even while you're playing aggressively. Remember that you can also throw in some barrier items if you need them. Now, if we went down the Flame Dash route, you probably want to get Metal Skin. Metal Skin isn't as high profile of an item as Ricochet at 3,000 souls, but Metal Skin, that's going to be your additional get-out-of-jail-free card, but it can also help you get in there and get the Flame Dash down, because that's going to be the bulk of the damage output, right? We've prioritized that ability. We can't get up close and personal if we die, so let's avoid that. If you are behind, and if you are ahead, souls-wise, then you'll also prio the barriers, because You're not going to get in there and do any damage, right, if you can't sustain through it. And when you're ahead, if you're really, really farmed, there's not much of a point in getting additional damage items because you're already doing so much. You might as well just stay alive. For the rest of the items on either of these builds, again, mileage may vary. Rapid Recharge is good, Arcane Surge is good. You can probably imagine the hard work for learning Infernus comes from learning the appropriate points at which to pop this ult, and as far as the Flame Dash goes, when to zig and when to zag. In summary, Infernus is a great team-fighting gunfighter. He is a good initiator for team fights with his ultimate. He can make the floor where the entire team fight blob is standing into lava. If he builds Ricochet, he can get his afterburn effect spread across the entire blob. The cool part is that Infernus has this powerful team fighting ability while not sacrificing his 1v1 gunfighting potential. He's a good gunfighter with strategic depth. He has good escape. He has good initiation. He can fight. He's got it all. Infernus is a great entryway into Deadlock while also having depth that can be scaled into high elo environments. If this video taught you something, please go to the link in the description and give me some feedback on the scripting format for this video. Unlike a lot of MOBA character guides that I see on YouTube, I didn't demarcate it into different sections like abilities, build. Okay, now that we spent 6 minutes yapping about this, now let's talk about how to actually play the game. I tried to weave it into a storytelling format that was a little bit more easily digestible. Do the algorithm stuff, you know, give it a like, share it with your friends, fucking pinko. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next Deadlock how-to. Subscribe for more. Deuces.